My name is Dr. Matthew Perry. I'm a physical therapist and owner of Auto-Ness Physical Therapy here in Scripps Ranch, just around the corner. And this is Dr. Kevin Grayson, also physical therapist. And today we're going to be talking about the knee. Should we get going?
Cool. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Cool. What I like to do before every workshop and every seminar is talk about growth mindsets versus fixed mindsets, okay? Has everyone kind of heard of these terms before in some way, shape, or form? Okay. So fixed mindset, intelligence is static, okay? You want to look smart, you avoid challenges, and see effort as fruitless, okay? Whereas a growth mindset, intelligence can be developed, okay, and it leads the individual to learn, okay? I hope and I know I'm going to learn as much from you all as hopefully you guys learn from us, okay? If you have questions at any point in the workshop, please ask them, okay? We want this to be, very interactive and involved thing, okay? Does that make sense to everyone? Yes, that will lead us to our next thing. Again, educational purposes only. Okay. Again, we'll bring over that sign-up sheet. Seriously, we have no way of knowing what's going on with all of you. Okay. I just need to be very, very clear. And this workshop is being recorded. Okay. This will be uploaded to the Scripps Ranch Women Racquet Club's online classes. Okay, and anyone who has signed up for this, the only thing we're gonna really give you guys via email is the recorded workshop. Okay, once it's all edited and everything by our wonderful Aiden Gilbert back there. Yeah. Okay. So, why do we care about our knees? Well, I'm gonna leave it up to you. Why do we care about our knees? Got to move, carrying weight. Yep. Anything else? That's it. Flexibility. Exactly. Right. It's holding up our body. It's a very, very important joint. Okay. There's a huge gender discrepancy between females and males with knee issues. Okay. It's upwards of like 60% or something like that of females have knee problems at some point in their life. Okay. It's a lot of people. Okay, I always thought it would be maybe more skewed towards males, but it is not. Mm-hmm. Okay, highly correlated to longevity and us living. Okay, there's a lot of data saying that the amount of times we can sit and stand over a certain amount of time, like 10 seconds sit to stand, can influence how long we'll live. Believe it or not. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And these are correlations, not causations, of course, right? But that's pretty profound, as well as independence, right? When our knees work well, we can move better, we can be more independent in life, okay? As we were saying before, the knees are weight-bearing, okay? It's a very important joint to support ourselves, okay? Also, it just feels horrible to have pain in our knees, which is why you're all here, right? Yeah. Most of you. I know some people don't necessarily have knee pain. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Let's get moving.
Yeah. So who here, raise your hands, who has knee pain right now? Anybody? Okay. So be cautious with this one. We're not doing anything crazy, but we're just going to do a couple movements and then we're going to see how it feels. So if everybody is welcome to it, we'll go ahead and stand up. Okay. Now, everyone, we're just going to do a squat. So go as far as you feel comfortable with. We're just going to kind of bend down and then come back up. Let's do about 3 or 4 repetitions. Kind of just take note of how it's feeling. And anybody having pain while they squat?
You should probably have your weight on your heels.
You might have pain elsewhere too. That's okay.
Like this. You should come down like this. There you go. There you go. Good job. Give us a couple more. We're just going to kind of walk around and see how everyone's moving. We got a big crowd here. So we want to make sure you're sitting backwards. We're going to talk all about this in a second.
Feels good?
Okay. See how that feels between going like
Okay.
this.
Not bad,
and
not
like
bad.
Okay. So look at my
We'll go
knees.
back there.
This
Feels all right?
versus
Good.
this. Okay. Good job.
That's
Good
okay.
job. And the people in the back,
Don't
let's
worry. Well,
just
he'll
get a
get the
couple more.
information later
Look at
or
that mobility. I know. You must have a good physical therapist.
All right. Any problems up
Weight
here?
on your
You guys
heels.
feel
Make
good?
sure you're kind of sitting back like
Okay.
this, as
Okay.
opposed to bringing those
Yeah,
knees
a little
forward.
bit.
There you
Okay.
go. That's taking a lot of
We
pressure.
can go ahead and
off
take a
the
break with
buttocks.
that one. Yep.
Great, great. Okay, everyone can sit down.
Back up here.
How are we really supposed to do a squat?
So we're going to go over that a little bit right now.
Yes.
No,
we're just going to talk about how you guys did it wrong and not give you any corrections.
Yeah. All the bad things and no results from that. Right. But yeah, a big part again. How many people had more pain with the squat or noticed any pain in their knees or elsewhere? Okay, so a few more people, not everybody, so that's good. So a couple things we talk about is hip flexibility and ankle flexibility. So those are huge components of the squat and huge components of what contributes to knee pain. So in a second here, we'll kind of get up and just do a couple stretches and kind of see how it feels after. The other thing, again, we'll go over it a little bit later, is the strength in your legs and your quads and your hips and all that kind of stuff. Do you have anything to add on that?
No, the knee is highly, we'll talk about later, it's highly influenced by our hips and by our ankles, okay? In reality, knee can only do this, right? Flex and extend. It's kind of a dumb joint, right?
Yeah.
Don't ever tell a surgeon or anything like that.
Yeah.
I said that. So what's happening up here and what's happening down here are, typically what's, that's manifests in the knee area. Okay.
Yeah. Cool. So one other thing before we do just a couple stretches, a lot of you guys, when you did squat, I noticed a really big kind of forward knee motion. All right, so that's going to cause a lot of stress through the knee joint, and it's really going to put a lot of stress through your quads in the front of the knee. So we like to make sure you're kind of getting your knees outward and you're kind of getting your butt backwards towards the chair. So it's the same thing as getting up and down out of a chair, right? When you go to sit in a chair, we don't go like this. We put our butts backwards. So if everyone's welcome to it, we're going to stand up. We're going to do a couple stretches. And then maybe you'll demonstrate over there and I'll get over here.
Yeah.
So first one we're going to do is just like a standing hip flexor stretch. So we're trying to stretch the front of your thigh. So you're going to go one leg behind the other.
Pick a side, we'll do
straighten
both.
that back leg as much as possible, okay? And lean forward. And really try to squeeze your butt on that back leg. You should feel it tense up in the thigh a little bit there. Okay. Anybody having any problems? Okay. So we'll hold about 10, 15 seconds.
Try to remain upright. We don't want to necessarily arch our back, but you definitely want to be upright, not here. We don't want to be there.
And then we'll go ahead and switch.
You feel it there? So yeah, you might feel it there as well. Not in there.
You might feel this in the calf as well too.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say for your foot, and actually both of your feet,
Straighten out
you're out like this.
if you can.
Turn that toe to neutral. Same with that side. Yeah. And while you guys are in here, I kind of like sometimes with almost my thumbs, kind of think about it as like guiding my hips forward, if that makes sense. Okay, I'm not pushing myself, but I'm just guiding myself forward. Yeah, good. Correct. Not much weight, maybe 35, 40%.
So we'll go ahead and take a break there. That was a long hold. And then, so again, that's going to work on hip mobility. So a lot of people sometimes feel a pinching in the hip, have a hard time getting down to do a squat. So that's going to help improve that a little bit. We'll do one more. We're going to do just a calf stretch. So if everyone can find the spot like on the wall or against the glass, in similar position. And now we're trying to keep your heel down.
You can also use a chair here.
You're going to feel this behind the knee.
Yeah, that's
kind of this position.
Just be
Yeah, you can use
careful.
the
Make sure
chairs.
we don't want it sliding on you.
So straighten out, fully straighten out your knee. It's a very similar position as the last one.
Yeah. Yeah, that looks good. And just be careful on that other side.
Good. Feel that behind the back?
Hans, turn
Good.
that toe inward, that right, left toe.
We're doing it over here. Everyone feeling that in the calf? Good.
Looks good. How are you feeling with that? You feel it back there? Perfect, perfect.
Good. Go ahead and switch sides when you're ready.
Same with the other stretch. You want to make sure that your feet are pointed forward as possible. Feeling it?
Yeah.
Good, good. How you doing?
There are many different ways to do both of these stretches, but these are kind of the two easiest ways. No equipment required. You just need
I
a
appreciate the
place
honesty.
to lean on. Good.
Good. Good job, Irene. Good. That looks good. Okay.
Awesome. So we'll go ahead and take a break there. All right. And if everyone wants to head back to their seats, please. And we'll stay standing for a second. Okay? Because we're just going to try a couple more squats after doing that. And be mindful again this time. Let's keep the knees out over your toes, about hip distance apart. And try to reach that butt backwards a little bit more. Okay? Good. Very good.
Is that? Yeah. That's good though. That's good form. That is really good form.
That's very good.
That's how it should be.
Good. How's that feel? Feels all right? Feels good?
This is good. Good job, man.
Are we still having some discomfort in there?
Okay.
A little bit?
Uh-huh.
Good. Yeah. Good. Good. Yeah.
Like that. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Any problems? Feel
Well,
good?
it's good. It's
Good.
movement, right?
What if I'm going to turn this way? That's what it causes me a problem.
That causes pain?
Because I have no cartilage.
Ah, okay. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, downhill. That's actually something we'll talk about a little bit. If you remind me.
Well, you might have good flexibility here, but some tightness in here, right? So everybody's anatomy is a little bit different, and flexibility is a little bit different, right? So these are kind of the things we tinker with in the clinic. So, all right, thank you for doing that. We'll have everybody go ahead and sit back down. So some of you might have noticed, and some of you kind of said, feels a little bit better squatting like that. So just a couple quick, flexibility stretches and techniques, and just a few, corrections in the movement can go a really, really long way as far as reducing pain with these types of movements. And a squat is something you do many times throughout the day. Just getting on and off the toilet, that's a squat. So how many times a day we do that? So question?
Yeah, the knee thing, you're turning out the knee.
Yep.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yes. So basically, some of you may have noticed when you squat down, your knees kind of go in a little bit. Now, there could be a number of reasons why, but very commonly, it's just one is a movement coordination issue. So you just, as you're just so used to kind of going down into that motion that your body automatically goes into it. But a bigger one is more weakness in the hip, right? So our hip is actually what controls, your knee diving in a little bit. Like Matthew said, our knee just flexes and extends. All it really does is go one plane of motion. So when you go down like this, it's because these hip muscles are not engaged enough. And what that does is it causes a lot of stress, especially on the inside of your knee. So we'll talk about it a little more in a couple more slides too. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool.
I meant to ask before, who here has stopped some of the things that they like doing in life, whether that's pickleball, tennis, or things like that, due to knee pain?
Yeah.
Well, due to pain. We'll say due to pain. I know your foot. Oh, sorry. Keep your hands up. Gotcha. Okay, that's a lot of people. How many people have been told that their activity is causing their knee pain, and that's why they should be stopping? Few people? How many people have been told that, I can't stand this one,
Yeah.
that they just simply need to act their age?
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a few people. Yeah. Well, I know this is kind of a tangent and all that, but we all know. Oh, sorry, you all know that ageism is a rampant thing. You know the term ageism. You guys have heard that before. We're told as we get older we need to stop. Just stop doing it. Take it easy. Maybe not play golf. Maybe not do the things you love. Right. I could tell you, yeah, Kevin's shaking his head too. For some people, absolutely. If it's horrible degeneration and it's causing you 10 out of 10 pain, maybe you might need to modify. But I don't personally believe, and I know Kevin doesn't either, that you need to stop your activities. Okay. I know again that was kind of a tangent and all of that, but I did want to bring that up. Okay. Again, we don't know what's going on with each and every one of you, but our motto is never ever stop moving. Okay, because you sit and bad things can happen, right? As we've all experienced in some way, shape, or form. Okay. Sorry, we should bring up the mood a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. The knee. So we'll do just kind of a quick anatomy lesson. Try not to be too boring here. But this isn't the greatest picture, but this is kind of just showing some of the soft tissues, so the muscles in the knee. And then, this is more of the bony elements and the cartilage and the ligamentous support. So let's go to the next one. Okay, so again, looking at this picture, this is the front of the knee, and this is the back of the knee. So in the front, we obviously have our quadriceps, our big muscle, big thigh muscles, attaches into the kneecap and into the patellar tendon. Now, the purpose of the kneecap is actually to increase the lever arm for the patella tendon to provide more force. So it's kind of a floating bone in there. Very cool, one of the coolest joints in the body, actually. And in the back of the knee, we have the hamstrings, the big muscles back here. Now there are, many other muscles kind of go inside and outside, but just kind of keeping it basic today. As far as the bony elements, I mentioned the patella. So we have your big bone up here, the femur, and then we have the tibia and the fibula. The fibula is the smaller bone on the outside of the knee. And really, when we talk about knee pain, the knee joint, it's either the patella interacting with the femur, or it's the femur interacting with the tibia. So patellofemoral pain, that's the kneecap and the femur and the way it glides in the groove there. Other things like osteoarthritis, that can happen at the patellofemoral joint, but we're more commonly looking at the femur and the tibia, okay? So that's just a little bit about that. And next here, we'll talk about the meniscus. So how many people here have heard of the meniscus? How many people have had meniscus issues? Yeah, any surgeries? You mentioned one, we'll clean up. You mentioned one, cool. Purpose of the meniscus is to distribute force across the knee. So kind of increase the ability or the capacity of your knee to tolerate force, whether it's with walking, running, jumping, things like that. Now, you can get little bucket handle tears. That's probably one of the worst kind of tears you can get because it can kind of flip over and back and forth. It's not the greatest because you can have a lot of pain and then have no pain and then be like, what's going on? It actually flips back and forth. But the blood supply in the meniscus isn't great. So the outer portions is more vascular than the inner portions. So tears on the outside can heal a lot better than the inside portions. But what we will find out in the next couple slides is that majority of us have meniscus tears. A lot of us have no pain at all, right? So it's kind of something that you could have no idea, you tore your meniscus, sitting out in the garden or doing something, squatting up and down, and you might not have any symptoms. So that's just one thing to note about that. And there we go. You can live pain-free with a meniscus. So like Matthew kind of wrote on this slide, they did a study where they evaluated a bunch of adults that had no pain, and almost all of them had an abnormality, whether it was meniscus issue or arthritis or things like that. So it is a normal kind of part of aging, right? We all kind of have changes that go on in our joints. So,
and to add to that, just because I have the number here, they surveyed 230 people with, obviously they had knees, and they were all asymptomatic, okay, which means they had no reported, issues in their knee. And nearly all of them had some sort of meniscus issue.
Yeah. Cool. And one note on the bottom here, it does talk about that bucket handle tear, which is a complex tear. In this study, there were many people, I don't know if we have the numbers on that, but many people who had a complex bucket handle tear and had no idea. And this was the first time they were aware that they had any sort of tear like that. So you can have these things and have no issues or no pain. So one note I want to make on that is, again, a lot of times we'll go to the doctor, you have knee pain, they take an MRI, and oh my gosh, I have a meniscus tear. And, unbeknownst to a lot of people, you don't know what that means, what it looks like. The doctor might be saying, hey, we need to do surgery right away. And there are plenty of other options to kind of manage that. And it might not even be causing your symptoms at all. So that's just one thing to note about the meniscus. Okay, not going to bore you with going through all of these, but this is a list of many things that can cause knee pain, especially in the front of the knee. So it's a laundry list. Have any of you guys heard of any of these before? Or been told you have this before? Okay. So again, we got patellofemoral stuff, IT band syndrome, all sorts of stuff. What do you think is the most common as far as what causes the patellofemoral pain? Tendinitis. We got a couple for tendinitis, bursitis, arthritis. That's a good one. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Has anyone been diagnosed real quick with patellofemoral syndrome? No?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a pretty generic term
It
for
is.
when you have pain in your knee that's not like significantly like anything that shows up on MRI or X-ray. You just like have knee pain, they'll be like, oh, it's patellofemoral syndrome. So,
saying syndrome because syndrome means a lot of different things and a lot of conditions.
yeah. But the answer to the most common one is a movement fault. So nothing to do with any of those things that were listed. Right? Most common cause of patellofemoral pain is actually just the way you move, which again, that's exactly what we do, how we try to help people. We help people try to move better, move more efficiently, and make sure that we can get rid of knee pain. And we have a lot of good results with just correcting these movement faults as far as the way you move. So
this is different than posterior.
yeah, we're talking about anterior knee pain, but there can be some related causes to posterior knee pain as well, right? So, but there are some differential diagnosis, which we can go over a little bit later. But strictly anterior knee pain, the way the patella moves or the kneecap, a lot of it is movement faults, right? Because if we even just squatting with our knees in like this, that causes the patella to not go up and down in the groove of the femur, right? It starts to rub on one side versus the other. So, and that is something that can be easily corrected just by practicing those movements and having someone that coach you through it. Okay?
Yeah, think of every time you're sitting down to go to the bathroom that doing this motion, as an example, is kind of picking a scab, right? And you just keep picking it every time you do it, right? An analogy like that, it's like, well, no wonder why our knees hurt, because we're just doing that same thing that's irritating all day, every day. So if we don't correct that movement fault, then we're going to have a really hard time, healing and feeling good. Does that kind of make sense, everyone?
Okay. So a couple just quick notes on strategies on dealing with knee pain or anterior knee pain. One of the ways we combat that is by increasing the step rate. So we'll talk a little bit more about that one in the next slide. But there's been a lot of studies that actually found, people with knee pain actually are walking slower and moving slower. And they found in the study, which we'll show on the next slide, that when people actually increased their step rate or how fast they're moving, it caused reduced joint reaction forces through the knee, which means reduced stress through the knee. So, just even walking a little bit faster, more intent, can be beneficial to reduce knee pain. Then we talk about the hips and the quads. Very, very important, as I already mentioned, in the hips, how much it controls. We call this, frontal plane motion. So kind of going in and out this way, more controlled by the hip, not the knee. The knee is just that forward sagittal plane. So any issues where we're moving in and out, that's going to be controlled by the hip. And so that's why, I'm sure if anyone has done rehab before, a lot of people might have knee pain and you start immediately doing hip exercises. And like, why the heck am I doing hip exercises? My pain is here, it's not here. But it's because it has a lot to do with your knee position and the way you move. And the quads, ton of research, obviously that is the knee, right? It goes right into the kneecap. So the weaker your quad, the more likely you are to get knee pain or develop knee pain. So 2 big areas to hit there. And then one quick disclaimer here is to not blame your alignment of the pelvis or leg length. You might have been told that before as well. Some people might have gone to a PT or chiropractor or even a doctor and say, oh, your one leg's longer than the other, which certainly can have an effect. Same thing with the pelvis and the alignment, but more common than not, it's these other issues is what we're dealing with. So, any questions about that? Real quick, and this was just that study about the step rate. So again, this is that slower rate. You can see how the knee is bending a little bit more. There's a greater moment arm, more stress through the knee. So when they actually increased a little bit faster to 110%, sorry, I was talking right in front of it. So 110% there, the lever is shorter. There's a lot less stress into the knee with walking. Any notes about that? Any notes about that?
Oh, yeah. And so increasing step rate doesn't necessarily mean that like you're running, right? It really is shortening your stride. So say I normally walk like this, okay? Me doubling that or 110%, of it doesn't even have to be doubling.
Yeah.
Here, I'm not really moving any faster, but now I'm offloading the knee a little bit more as the research, says.
Okay. So quick note just about gender differences and what we call Q angle. So Matt kind of touched on this initially, how knee pain is a little more prevalent in women. This is one of the main reasons why, right? Women typically have a wider pelvis and the knees kind of go in a little bit more. So the angle of their femur, again, which is what we call the Q angle, as you can see here, it's going to already kind of put you in this position a little bit. So already a little bit of a disadvantage there. But that doesn't mean that, we can't fix that with all these other things we talked about, movement, coordination, strengthening, and all those other things. Okay, one last quick note here about knee osteoarthritis. Anyone in here have knee arthritis? Okay. Anyone been told they need a knee replacement? Okay, recently? Yeah? Yeah, come on. Okay, so like I said before, you can reduce knee pain just by fixing these movement faults. And a lot of times, we've been walking around with these movement faults for a very long time, and that's part of why we have arthritis, in addition to maybe having some weakness in the quads and the hips. So even with people that I've seen significant, arthritis, they've been told, oh, we need to do a knee replacement like tomorrow. You can reduce a lot of that knee pain with doing some of the things we talked about. And I've seen a lot of good results there. And the worst case scenario I've ever seen is somebody coming in, a lot of knee pain, they got really strong, still ended up getting a knee replacement, but they were set up for success because we built all that strength, we improved all the range of motion, we talked about the preoperative care, and they were set up for success for going into that knee replacement. So, but it's always worth it to get, go through physical therapy or at least some exercise training with whoever, is kind of your guide before going into surgery. So as you see here, that's just a picture of a total joint, what it looks like. That's the extent of the procedure. They put in 3 different components into the knee. So they basically replace the end of your femur with a component, the top of your tibia with a component, and then they put something underneath your kneecap. But it is a very extensive surgery, and a lot of doctors don't tell them I said this, but they'll kind of tell you it's no problem. Great surgery, you're going to have such a great outcome. It's going to be easy, but it's a long road, and people do get better, but it's a hard recovery. So I want to say that just a disclaimer there. And if anyone has any more questions about that, you can kind of come talk to us. I actually, part of my specialized training is in like total joint replacement, recovery, and preoperative care, as well as just any like post-surgical care. So I have a lot of experience in the knee and shoulder, especially post-operative. So general rule of thumb with knee pain, if the pain is unrelenting and you've tried all this other stuff, physical therapy, strengthening, you still can't dodge that knee pain, then it might be time to kind of consider getting that knee replacement. Because a lot of people do have, it does really improve their quality of life if the knee pain is that bad. Any questions about that? Yeah.
About arthritis.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of having knee replacement, can they just go in and do arthroscopic?
Yes.
Surgery, kind of clean it up.
Yeah, so options for that kind of depends. Just it's a little more specific to the patient, but what they can do is clean up the meniscus. They can clean up the cartilage, so they'll call it a chondroplasty. You might have heard that term before, and that's where they actually kind of shave down some of the cartilage on the knee where it is worn, and that can help kind of prolong. But from my experience, a lot of those surgeries are still pretty 50-50, even with a meniscus, right? So I would still highly recommend trying a bout of like strength and mobility training with a therapist and kind of seeing where you get with that. They also have the options of doing a single compartment knee replacement. So maybe you just have wear on one side, not the outside. So there are a lot of options there, and it is always worth getting more than one opinion if that's what you're considering. So, any other questions?
Great questions.
Yeah. Yeah. Can we hit this one?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Haven't talked in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, factors contributing to knee pain, right? We've already talked about the altered mechanics, doing this stuff to put increased stresses, increased pressures onto our knee. Altered muscle mechanics, right? A lot of us in our careers and even now do a lot of sitting, right? Am I wrong? Right, exactly. Even me as a movement specialist, I do too much sitting when I'm documenting and doing those things, right? So we have these imbalances, these hip flexors that we're trying to stretch out become a little bit too tight, right? These muscles back here become a little too weak, and now we, you said that's you, exactly. It happens with a lot of us. Now we have an imbalance, right? Everyone knows the body does not like imbalance. Increased wear on the inside and the outside of the knee due to functional imbalances. Same exact thing. Doing too much of this. Even running. Every time you run, if your knee's doing this or walking, again, it's picking that scab. Okay? Sitting too much. I already touched on that, but I think we can always keep talking about it. We do too much as Americans in our life of that. Ankle position and hip position. One thing we haven't talked about, I'm just going to take off my shoes, is, and I'll try to, I'll walk around a little bit. Okay, when I am coming down, my hips can be strong and keep my knees out. But guess what? If I pronate, has anyone heard of pronating before? Guess what? My knees are going to collapse in. Okay, so that's why I said it's about the ankle, it's about the hip to protect the knee. And I'll just kind of go around here so you all can see. Hopefully everyone can see at this point. When I come down and my feet pronate, cave in, my knees have to come in. And again, that's not great for the knee. There's a lot of things you can do. Yes, the Dr. Scholl's and all of that kind of stuff, can help. But, a lot of times, and this isn't for everyone, when you're using the Dr. Scholl's, it's like, you sitting on the couch watching Netflix all day, not doing anything. That's what you're doing to your feet. They're just on vacation. And how are your feet going to, you get what I mean? How are your feet going to get stronger if they're sitting and on vacation the whole time, by having these arch supports? And again, that's not for everybody. Some people definitely need them, but I think they are a little overprescribed, personally, in my opinion.
Agreed. Okay, so a great actually picture of kind of what Matt was just talking about. I just wanted to go over knee pain prevention, just a quick review, a couple of the points we talked about today. We talked about the biomechanical assessment, which is something we do on every single patient that we see. We're looking at your Q angle, your foot position, your hip position, your knee position, even your spinal position. So a lot of these things kind of factor into whether or not you're likely to develop knee pain or whether or not that is affecting your knee pain. And we look at the strength assessment. Obviously, we talked a lot about the quads and the hips, but a lot of other muscles we look at as well. And just looking at this picture as far as strength and biomechanical assessment, this first one here talks about the flat feet. That's that pronation. Look what it's doing to her knees as she squats, right? Now, at first look, that I could look at that and say, oh, it's weakness in her hips. But it could be both. It could be one or the other. The next one, the heels rising off the floor as she goes down, probably a little more to do with how much range of motion is in the ankle. Okay? And then the last one, that could just be from pain, right? Ouch, my left knee hurts. I'm going to bend more on this side. So, or it could be her spine or her hip. So there's a lot of things we really look at, and this is just kind of an example of us kind of like going through that biomechanical assessment and how much that affects and goes into your knee pain. Okay, now we'd like to open this up for just general questions. Anything, there's no bad question, no small or big question. So if you guys are ready, we'll open the floor. Yeah.
My main pain is when I'm going downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
I do a lot of walking downstairs.
Yeah.
And I have stairs in my house. So that's when I really hurt. I don't know which way to go. I don't know where to go to.
Yeah.
Or make it worse.
Yeah. So what I would say that is most commonly associated with that patellofemoral pain. So the way your kneecap is tracking. And it could be related to a lot of the things we talked about. So in looking at that, we would definitely check your range of motion, check your strength, and watch you go up and down the stairs and look at like, okay, what's going on there? Is her knee diving in a little bit? It could be something as simple as tightness in your quad, which I've seen a lot. Maybe this one is a lot tighter than this one, and it's causing more stress into the joint. And we loosen that up, stretch it out, you might feel no pain. Now, I'm not gonna make any promises there, but it could be something as simple as that. So,
Everybody I know that has knee problems have more pain. They're going down.
yeah.
And so that's from just an inaccurate way.
Yeah, and going downstairs is much more difficult than going upstairs. So it's a much heavier load through your quad. So again, as I go down, I'm basically doing a single leg squat, right? It's really loading into my quad and into the kneecap and into the patella tendon. And so typically we'll have more patellofemoral issues with going downstairs versus going up.
So just your recommendation is just keep everything straight? You're going down?
Yes, but what I would say is, I don't want to give too much advice without understanding what is going on. So, we could chat, privately after as well, and then we're also, and we'll talk a little bit more about kind of what, how we can help everybody here today as well. So, yeah.
Biggest trick that I have found, and again, this isn't the catch-all, all that kind of stuff, but when you're going downstairs, let me back up. Story Cinderella. Does everyone know it? The pumpkin and the glass slipper and all that kind of stuff. I'm onto something here. Okay, just bear with me. Okay, when we typically are going downstairs, okay, there is somewhat of a, I'm exaggerating this and I don't have a step here, but plop, right? Okay. Next time you're going downstairs, you're going to remember this, I promise. Think of going downstairs like Cinderella. When she's all done up and, walking down, presenting herself, coming, you know what I'm talking about, down the stairs. Think of that, because what that's doing is giving you control in your motion. Okay, it's elegant and it looks good and all that kind of stuff. But it's giving you control. So you're no longer walking like that. You're walking smoothly again down the stairs. Okay, that might help.
My mom used to say that it was easier for her to walk down the stairs backwards rather than going frontwards down the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
Because she had osteoarthritis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've heard that as well, just walking, normally on flat ground for people who have a lot of advanced knee osteoarthritis. I see a lot of head nods. Unfortunately, that's not a very functional thing to do this all the time.
Yeah.
But hiking backwards is probably not the smartest
we don't
thing to do.
recommend that.
But no, I mean, you're absolutely right, because it's taking those pressures off the knee. So that's a great point.
Yeah. Okay, you next. Then go ahead. Yeah.
Just curious, you were talking about the meniscus.
Yep.
Is it something that if you don't have surgery on a meniscus that will place you into arthritis sooner, or what's the story there?
So what I would say there is, and again, there's no research behind this, but my personal opinion is that doing like a meniscus surgery, like a cleanup, they call it a meniscectomy, I think that accelerates your arthritis more than leaving a tear, depending on how bad the tear is, right? So if you can't dodge that knee pain, doing all these corrections, and they need to just clean it up and smooth it out, then sure. But what they do when they clean up a meniscus is they actually are taking out some of your meniscus that is there. So now where your meniscus was this thick, now it's this thick. So, and that's the gap between, your femur and your tibia. So you've now reduced that. So now you're going to get more cartilage contacting cartilage, which can kind of speed up, your path to arthritis. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you guys, sorry.
Yeah, another question about the meniscus. My husband came in late, so we didn't get to hear all about it.
Yeah, no worries.
It's hardy.
As a tear.
Took you a long time to walk.
Currently has a tear in his meniscus.
Yeah.
We're waiting to see a surgeon to see if it's necessary.
Mm-hmm.
But in the meantime, as you know, things don't move real fast in the orthopedic world when it comes
Yeah.
to appointments.
Yeah.
So he's in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
Are there certain ways you can sit or sleep to reduce some of the pain? I know that he says it comes and goes, but when it comes, it's pretty severe.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things, again, we can do to kind of minimize that pain. And some of them we talked about today, right? Even just improving the movement faults and improving, the alignment of the joint. And by doing that, we're working on flexibility and strengthening, right? So those can help reduce the stress on the meniscus, because now your muscles are more supported, your knees more kind of aligned. And a quick note on that, we also want to make sure everyone understands what direct access is. So you can, because I know things really move slow in the orthopedic world, right? You go to a doctor, you go to an orthopedist, they say, oh, we can get you in 2 months, 3 months. You're like, I'm in pain now. So in California, physical therapists are direct access providers. So you can go see a physical therapist first, even if you have Medicare. So Medicare is a little bit different, but you can get an appointment with a physical therapist and start working on strength and mobility and reducing pain. And there's no real negative to doing that, right? If you got to wait 2 months for an appointment to see an orthopedist, you don't want to just be sitting around in pain all the time. So that would be kind of my number one is, finding a physical therapist and getting in and starting to work on these things. And hopefully you can end up canceling that orthopedic appointment if your pain is all gone, right? Yeah. Any other questions about that? Yeah. Yeah, we could talk a little bit more after. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I keep hearing, I've heard from friends, oh, I have some bone on bone. What does that mean?
So bone on bone is actually, or the term bone on bone is the last slide that Kevin was speaking about, arthritis. Okay, Arthur.
Oh.
Does everyone say? Oop, this one. There you go. Yeah. Oh yeah, so slide before last. That is what happens when we have that wearing of the cartilage. Okay, we should have this nice, cushion. Exactly. So the blue isn't what I'm referring to. However, this kind of smooth white is supposed to simulate that cartilage. Okay, over time through the movement faults, again, that's why I like that picking the scab analogy, right? We are literally wearing certain parts of our knee that we're not supposed to. Okay, and that leads to decreased space, okay, within here, okay? And that's where that bone on bone comes from. Some people are literally bone on bone, which is not, you're not supposed to be.
Yes. So this is actually not too bad of an x-ray. There's good joint space. Someone who was bone on bone, and the x-ray would look a little more like the femur is touching the tibia.
Yeah.
So the reason the gap is there is because of the cartilage and because of the meniscus. And that doesn't show up on an x-ray. Yeah. Yeah.
You see a lot of ads on dietary supplements and stuff that supposedly increases the meniscus. Any comments on the effectiveness of those?
Well, what I would say is a lot of them aren't backed by research. And so, but I'm never one to knock any sort of treatments. I've certainly seen some supplements work for some people and, also not work for some people. So I'm never one to say like, oh my gosh, that's totally untrue, because it works for some people and it may be just a placebo effect, but placebo effect is very real and I use it all the time. It works great. No, but it is. Placebo effect, it does work very well. Even with creams and, a lot of people are talking about CBD and stuff now. The mechanism by which that actually works in the body is more that you need to kind of ingest it. So a lot of the topicals, they might feel like they're doing something. A lot of them have menthol and stuff in it, which is a cooling effect. It feels good. And, I've had people swear by, like, oh my gosh, that's the only thing that makes my shoulder not hurt. And certainly that's awesome. I think let's keep using that, right? But if it actually is doing something, we don't really know. So that's my little caveat to that. Yeah.
And it's likely not changing the joint space. It's not changing,
yeah,
the interior things. But again, if it makes you feel good, then
if it works,
then do it. Then it technically works, right? I'm with you. Yeah. Any other questions? We'll be here after as well, but before we let you go, we're wrapping. Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm. When I walk along, then point on the foot will start to feel pain. I don't know what's that from.
Gotcha. So the questions, just so everyone can hear, if that's okay, is on the foot. Your name? Yvonne. Yvonne. Her, I guess the top of the foot is hurting when she's.
Bending
when it's bending. So I guess maybe during kind of pushing off of, yeah, you know, that could be due to a whole lot of things. I'd say probably we'd start with like the mechanics of walking. It's funny, it goes back to this, you know, every time. If we are in alignment while we're walking, then we're probably not overloading structures. But that's something we can definitely talk about after the seminar. Love to learn more. Oh, one more.
Great question.
I love those questions. Okay, to answer your first question, we weren't trying to market ourselves too much, but you asked, so we are a one-on-one physical therapy clinic, okay? So you're working with the physical therapist for the entire time. We have a couple patients back here who can kind of attest to that. The back row, troublemakers. So no aides, no techs, no any of that. So you're either working with myself at this present time or with Kevin. We are both full time. Does that answer that first question? Okay. And yeah, it's important, right? You know, you don't want to get to a place where you're delegated to someone else and who's not really looking or just didn't know. Like we were back there too. You know, we were interns and all of that. But, you know, it's just not the same thing as, you know, doctor of physical therapy or, you know, a licensed physical therapist working with you. Yeah. The second question, yes, we do take all Medicare insurance, okay? Medicare Advantage gets a little weird, but, you know, we, for the most part, take all Medicare insurance, okay? We'd love to speak with anybody who's interested, and we do all work with all PPOs, okay? That's, you know, the thing. They unfortunately won't let us get in with the HMOs just because corporate lobbying and all of that kind of stuff. Literally, we can't, which is unfortunate because we're trying to help more people. But speaking, you know, of that, you know, we've been around for about 4 years. We've helped, you know, hundreds of people, mostly in the Scripps Ranch area, move more pain-free, okay? Our goal is to eradicate pain in Scripps Ranch. We're going to start with the knees. We're going to start with the knees. Yeah. But my message has always been consistent, right, Susan? Yeah. We are located just right around the corner. We're right on Scripps Ranch Boulevard. Do you know the New Break Church? New Break Church? Yeah, so we're right below that in a business park.
Yeah,
okay.
kind of by Play It Again Sports too, if you know
Play
where
It
that
Again
is.
Sports, right.
Just a
Right,
few
right over
blocks
there.
down from there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The what? Yes, right over there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, a mile away. You could run. Well, maybe after you work with us, you can run.
Not yet. Not yet. Yeah.
We'll get you there. And speaking of that, you know, that we're doing something we rarely ever do. This is our patient pathway, how you can recover, restore, and advance your movements.